How's everybody? Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I'm going to work on talking slowly. Who's been in a workshop with Taki? Who believes talks very quickly? Okay. We'll talk maybe not so quickly, but let me know. Where's Febby? You go. Slow. Cool. That's it. All right. Welcome everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. How's everybody's day so far? Really cool. Really cool. It's always a privilege. How many of you here? Someone popping out of the phone booth here. Who was here last time we did a workshop here at Carve? Many? Oh, mainly upstairs. So a lot of the people here, who's been with Carve maybe not long, maybe a couple of months or a month? Many? Lots. Okay. Now, am I waiting, by the way, Jan, Sir Jan, am I waiting for people to come upstairs?
We're really here. And people are still coming down.
Oh, they're still coming down. So we should still continue. Okay. So a couple of things we're going to touch on today, and I won't take up a lot of your time. And we've got our, have we got our nutrition person here, have we? Person? Okay. So there's a couple of things we're going to talk about today, and a couple of things I want to share with you. And I've got my notes here. Is that okay? I'm going to use my notes, okay, because that will keep me on track. Okay. If people are looking at me strangely, I'll know that you don't understand what I'm saying or I'm talking too quickly. All right. So we're going to talk today a little bit about communications, and you know, a big part of my visit here and working with his team, awesome over here, Femi and Chell, okay, is that thank you, we're part of a global network that delivers a client, and you know your clients are in Australia or they're in America. Who's got clients? Where have we got clients apart from Australia and America? UK, New Zealand. Okay. So you can be sometimes working with a client, and sometimes clients can be pretty demanding. You know, so what they say to you, "Have you done this yet?" And what are you thinking? No. But what do we sometimes say? We sometimes say yes. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about today about a way that has you communicating with your clients in a way that has you being open and honest and truthful with them, okay, so that you can have a better relationship with your client and you can be more productive. Would that be helpful to do that? Okay, better and more productive. Because one of these skills we talk about, crucial conversations, and crucial conversations is taught globally to people in healthcare. Okay, so where's the hospital? Is the hospital just behind here? Okay. It's taught globally in healthcare. And who would believe in healthcare, sometimes there can be a really high pressure situation working in healthcare. We've got people coming in and, you know, someone got run over by a jeepney, or, you know, someone broke something or come in, and there's lots of pressure. What can happen is that people can get really busy. People get really busy. And when someone comes in and they need to be treated, what happens is there's a number of steps that have to happen when someone comes into a hospital. They have to be checked out and they have to be assessed by a doctor and they're going to be treated. And if all those processes don't happen sometimes in hospitals, people don't get treated well, and sometimes people get sicker and die. Has anybody ever here worked in hospitals? That happens globally in hospitals. Some people go into hospital and they come out a lot worse. Okay? And the intention was, when they went into hospital, was to get better. What happens is that some So your partner, what I want you to do with them, I want you to talk with them for about 2 minutes. Who can think of a conversation that happened maybe not that long ago with either someone in your team or someone in your family or one of your friends, and the conversation just didn't go very well? Everyone can think of one of those? Like, it just didn't work very well. So what I want you to do is I want you just to compare with your partner. Don't have to give them too much detail. All right, about a conversation that didn't go very well, and what was it about the conversation that just didn't work? Does that make sense? That's one. Number one is, who recently had a conversation that went really well? Anybody have one of those? Like, it went really well. So with your partner, talk about a conversation that just went really badly. Okay, that's one. And the second one is about a conversation that went really well. What was it that made the conversation bad really bad? And what was it that made the conversation go well? Does that make sense? Febby, am I talking too quickly? Cool. All right, so 2 minutes with your partner and let's compare some notes. 2 minutes.
One, two, three. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Seconds, 30 more seconds. All right. Okay. All right, how do we go? Okay, without the details of the conversation, who could just give us an example of some of the things that made the conversation not go well? What are some of the things that happened that made the conversation not go very well?
Your conversation partner's not listening to you.
Not listening. Ah, okay. So not listening, what else? Conversations that don't work very well, what else? Overlooking details. Okay. That might also go with not listening maybe a little bit. Yeah? Okay, thank you. What else? They had no idea what you're talking about. That was a bit like three of us when we started this. They had no idea what I was talking about. Yeah, cool. Okay. What else? Others? Made the conversation not go very well. One more. Who's been in anybody been in a conversation where someone turns up the volume? In other words, they start, I don't mean on their phone, they start yelling. Has anybody ever been in one of those? Yeah. Sometimes happens that we turn up the volume. We think, if I turn up the volume more, okay, people will listen. Okay. So what about conversations that have gone really well? What are some of the things that made a conversation go really well? Just some examples. You clarified things. Yeah, good. Imagine if you're talking with friends. What are some of the other things that make conversations go really well?
Being present.
Pardon?
Being present in the conversation.
Being present in the conversation.
So like I'm listening, but it looks like I'm listening as well. Yeah? Okay. Is everyone okay with that? And so the challenge that you have, and we'll talk about it in a second, because we're going to talk a little bit about how you can make your work more visible to your client, is, you know, you're dealing with people, you've got clients often in another country somewhere, and often they've never had anyone working with them virtually. So they have no idea. You know, they might be thinking, or they might be hoping that you're doing some work, but they might be also thinking you're off having a cappuccino somewhere. Does that make sense? I'm sitting out the front having a coffee. All right? So let's talk about communication. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into 4 different areas. And when you've seen or know anything about the program Crucial Conversations, it talks about 4 different types of conversations, okay? So number 1, I know some of you can't see the whiteboard, but we'll just go with it. Is that okay? So number 1, this is what I call the non-conversation. All right? And this is you, and see that there? That's your mouth, and that's a zip. You know what a zip is? You zip. You know, you zip, okay? That means I say nothing. Who's ever been in a conversation with someone somewhere, and you know you should have said something, but you didn't? Has that ever happened to anyone? I should have said something, and you might be thinking it later. You're thinking, you know what, I really should have said something when they said that. And you feel really brave afterwards, don't you? But you just didn't feel brave at the time, did you? You went, squeak. You know, you just didn't say anything. So that's the non-conversation. That's 1. Here's number 2. So that's 1. This is a very wobbly board. Number 2. Sorry that I'm in front of the board. Okay? This one is the noise. Get that one? That's the noise. That's me doing all the talking, okay, and thinking that I'm communicating. And when I think someone's not listening, then I turn up the volume. You get that? Because I think I'm communicating better. Anybody in the room got children? Yeah, children, okay. Sometimes I've got 4 children. My children are all pretty tall now. But you know, our children are younger. We think that if they're not doing something, if we turn up the volume a little bit, okay, they'll get the message a lot clearer. And the only thing they get to see, you know what they get to see when you turn up the volume? Your tonsils. Now back in here, all they see is your mouth open and they hear noise. They don't hear anything. Does that make sense? That's number 2. When you do crucial conversations, we talk about these 2 being silence and violence. Does that make sense? So what silence looks like is I don't say anything, I don't speak up, and someone's doing something that I'm not happy with, I don't say anything, and what happens one day? It just goes, bleh. It's like I just vomited on the rug. Does that make sense? Like it all comes out. And you think at the time it was the right thing to do until the next day, and you think, oh, that wasn't good at all. Okay? And then what happens is, you know what happens is, then we tend to go back to silence again. Okay? How do I know that? Well, we teach this around the world, and this is what we do as humans. This is how we handle it. Okay? All right, so number 3. This is the one I call nice. Okay? And this is only my limited experience in working with this culture, is this can happen a lot with Filipinos. Okay? What does nice mean?
Yes,
Nice means our clients on the phone are nagging me. You know what I mean by nagging? What's Jan thinking? No. Does that make sense? No. Okay. There's a term in coaching, I don't know if you've heard it before, and maybe Taki's mentioned it, but does anybody know what the term nice stands for? Is that cool? Because you know, I'm with my client, and they want me to say, yes, it's finished, don't they? They really want me to say it. So what am I thinking? What am I thinking? So what do I end up saying? I end up saying, yes. Does that make sense? And I fix the problem, don't I, for about 30 seconds. But then I create a new problem, don't I? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? That's what being nice is all about. Okay? You think they want you to be nice? Do you think that's what they want? They don't want you to be nice. They want you to be open. Okay? And what they want to know, you know what I know with these guys to us are awesome. We have team awesome here. I don't want them to be nice. I want them to be open and honest. What's one of the terms we talk about, Febby, about how we're working together? P in the... Clear. Okay? So that means, as a team, it's not just one of us talking. You probably work with... Who's working? Talk. Maybe they talk, they think quickly, they act quickly, and sometimes they react a little too quickly. They don't mean to do it sometimes. Okay, sometimes they do. Okay? They just overreact at times. Does that make sense? All right? And if we as VAs don't talk about that, then what happens is that's the way our relationship's always going to be, isn't it? It's just never going to quite work. All right? And we'll talk in a second about making work visible. Okay? So, number one, everyone clear with that? This is not. This is... I've just sipped it. Okay? I'm just not saying anything. Am I happy here? Do you think I'm happy here? No way. This is just me making noise. I had a business partner years ago, and that was a bit like he and my relationship. We just used to yell at each other all the time. Okay? We never communicated, we did a lot of yelling. Okay? It can relate to this one. I'm just going to be nice. I'm going, yes, it's finished. Yes, everything's going great. And then get off the phone and you start crying. You just break down. Okay? But number four is we can talk, we can plan, we can communicate. All right? And again, we'll talk about some tools around visibility in a second. So what this zone looks like, okay, what this zone down here looks like, if we stay in the space, okay, of just not talking or being nice, what then tends to happen is we tend to always be in that space. Does that make sense? Always be in that space. And we've got, you know, funny areas of different size. And we've got lots of pimples. And strange looking hair. Okay? We'll always be in that space. And that's a really lousy space to be. Because you know the biggest challenge of being in that space? If I'm in that space, what's the one thing that I tend to think about the most when I'm in that space? What's the one thing that I tend to think about the most when I'm in that space? Anybody know? I think about me and my self-protection and how unhappy I am and how miserable I am and how, you know, get that point? So if I'm thinking about all those things, what am I not thinking about? What am I not thinking about? I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about my client. I'm not thinking about my client's customers. I'm not thinking about my schedule and my tasks and my team and what I have to do today. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's that space. Up here, okay, this is this space. Okay? We've got really good looking ears, very clean skin, and really good hair. That makes sense? But see this zone here? This is an easy space to get into, but a very hard one to get out of. This one up here is sometimes a tougher space to get to because you have to get a relationship with your customer first, and you have to be open and honest. Does that make sense? So 4 or 5 simple things, okay? 4 or 5 simple things, and I've run out of whiteboard space. If you have to talk about tough stuff, this is what Crucial Conversations is all about. Number 1 is, if you're working with your client, you have to talk about a problem. Don't make the client the problem. Does that make sense? If someone's yelling, what could be the reason they're yelling? If someone's yelling or getting upset, you know, you get those sometimes messages on Skype. Febby, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? We don't do that, do we? No. Because Febby just tells me to go away. Okay? If you get those, there's a problem somewhere that's causing. Number 1 is we have to talk about what the problem is, not make the person the problem. Does that make sense? Number 1. Number 2, it's always about space and environment. So, and we'll talk about in Crucial Conversations, if you have to have a tough conversation, you've got to get the space and the environment right. There's no point having a difficult conversation in a crowd of people, and this happens all the time in hospitals. People have difficult conversations in corridors. It's the worst place to have the conversation. Okay, number 2. Number 3 is, who's ever been in a conversation and you know it's not going anywhere? Like you're just going, it's just not going anywhere. It's okay to stop the conversation. And one of the skills we teach in Crucial Conversations is to say, let's stop, this is not getting us anywhere. Because we're having the same conversation, okay? Number 4, if we talk about working with your customer, the first thing to always talk about is, what do we really want? If you think about your customer, ultimately, what is it that you and your customer really want, do you think? What do you really want? Productivity and results, yeah? And number 5, okay, if your customer's getting upset, what's it likely to do to you? If your customer's always going to get likely to do to you? It's going to get you upset as well, okay? So talk about that problem. Because if you never fix that problem, all that'll ever happen is you'll always get back into that space. Does that make sense? So everything in being here, and it's just, as you know, it's fantastic being here and the awesome stuff you do with Taki. Who's been in one of Taki's workshops? He's the man. But he wants what we want, what Tom and Angel, and look at the awesome leaders in the room you've got here, like Jay and Sajan and Sween. Kira Knightley look alike. Leaders in the room, what they want for you guys is they want for you to be here. Does that make sense? They want for you to be here. So what I'm saying is, it's harder to be here initially, but it's a great place to be when you get there. Is that cool? How are we doing? Any questions about any of that? Any questions? Okay. How are we going time-wise? All right. Let's talk a little bit about visibility with your customers. Okay. Visibility. What's the biggest challenge, do you think, in working with customers in Australia? What's the biggest? What are some of the challenges around working with customers in Australia? What do you think? You've probably seen some of these problems. What do you think? What are some of the challenges, do you think? Say again? They talk too fast. That's part of it. Okay. They do. We've had quite a few of those, haven't we, Febby? Yeah. They use strange terminology, don't they? We were talking about a couple the other night. Actually, one of the ones I mentioned to Tom the other night. Who's ever been to Vikings? Vikings. Okay, we went to Vikings last night, and there was someone going out, a parent going with a child, and this child was just going nuts, waving their arms and screaming. Okay. In Australia, that's a term we call cracking a wobbly. Ever heard that one before? Crack a wobbly. That's what it is. That child was cracking a wobbly. The biggest challenge for customers in Australia, USA, particularly like us, like 18 months ago. See, there you go. Okay. But for most of your clients, it's never going to happen. They're never going to see you. They're never going to be in front of you. They're not going to know. So here's the challenge. Can I show you? Can we quickly just get Febby and Joe and 3 chairs? Can we just do this quickly? Just give you an example. This is what it's like. working in Australia. Imagine, I've never had a VA. When you mention sometimes, you know, I'm a part of a Facebook group in Australia with all these small business owners, and I look at needing help. And every time someone talks about needing help, I always send them Tom's link to Carve, and I say, talk to these people. And for most Australians, they go, what? What? Because they're used to, the mentality is that if I'm going to have someone working for me, then I have to be able to see them. Does that make sense? Sit there, please. So this is what it's like. Here's me in Australia. Okay? Here's me in Australia. And here's Debbie and Chell on the team. So imagine we start initially, and I can never see these people, okay? So I'm sitting over in Australia in my office and I'm thinking, I'm wondering what they're doing over there. So I'm over here doing this, so you're working. So imagine you're working. So they're working and I'm working, and I'm thinking, I wonder what they're doing, and I'll talk to Febby, and we'll talk about, you know, what's happening and whatever, and I hang up and I go, I'm not sure. So this is what they're doing, but what I'm thinking they might be doing, okay, you're doing your fingernails. You're doing your fingernails. You're doing fingernails, and you're doing your hair. Okay? So this is what I might be thinking. I'm thinking, I'm over here doing this, and I'm paying cars to do all this, and what's happening over here, this is all going on. And over here, and you're picking things out. Okay, now you're both having a coffee. Okay? Does that make sense? As a client. Okay? So you wonder why sometimes your clients, they just don't understand this process because they're used to having, what are you doing now? Oh, the coffee, okay. Just drink the coffee, you don't have to make it, just drink it, okay. So this is what we think, does that make sense? We think I'm over here in Australia, but not only that, sometimes I talk, initially when we started working with Chell, because Chell and I met for the first time face to face, we were in Singapore last year, and Chell for half the time in our discussion, was that right, Chell? Chell had no idea what I was saying. Because I'm talking too quickly, and Phoebe's doing the translating. You know, sounds like, 2 words, needs, looks like that, idiot. It's all those things that happen. Does that make sense? And you know what? We were face to face. We were face to face. So what's going to happen if we are 10 hours? We're 10 hours flight difference, or 20 hours. That's what's going to. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's all about. Good job, Tom. Okay. So it's all about visibility. It's all about visibility. And a big part of that visibility with your client, this space up here, is helping your client to better understand. Who sometimes gets stuck on trying to do something and perhaps stuck in the communication they've had with their client. Do you think that could happen? So if we never communicate with our client, what happens is there'll always be times when we get stuck. I think we're getting better at this now, aren't we? We're getting better. And for me, this is only just me, for us to sit and do this on the room, for us, is just invaluable. Because we can sit and talk and plan, can we not? We can talk about products. There were even some of our new training products this time that Chell was not quite clear on, so we spent, was that helpful today going through it? So all those things. But see, that's a short space of time because I'm on a flight tonight back at 5:30 back to Melbourne. Okay. Tom says Melbourne. I say Melbourne. Okay, and we won't catch up again probably for a bit of time. Okay. So the visibility for you is helping your customers to better understand what you're stuck on. Does that make sense? Now when you go for your calf training, you learn a bunch of tools, don't you? Like using Trello. What else are you taught to use apart from Trello? What else? Entreport. But things like, and we've just set up things like, who uses Teamwork PM? Anybody use Teamwork Project Management? All these tools. Who has some of those tools that your customers don't use? Does anybody? So you think about some of these tools. Number one about visibility is helping your customers to set up some of these tools because most of them don't know. I used to do a lot of coaching when I started going. I don't do much. That's what originally got me to Tarki, and then 4 years ago we started the training business, and this is where we are now. But for most of our clients, when I talk about I've got about 6 coaching clients. Talk about using something like Trello, for example. For most of them, it's really fine. Or using Teamwork PM as a project management tool. Most of it's very fine. most clients in Australia, just to think they're going to put all their information up in the cloud, okay, for them is very foreign. It's strange. In small business, you know, small business owners struggle with that. So a big part of your visibility for you guys, okay, is to help your clients around setting up some of these tools. Remember this space up here? Okay. Rather than being down here going, everything's great, you know it's crap. It's just not good at all, okay? Up here is, number one, it's helping your clients to set up some of these tools because you're all working, are you not, with other people in your teams that have got clients that are using some of these tools. The other ones are, and being in this space, is the question, okay? The question is, with your customers, this is where I need help. Does that make sense? This is where I need help, okay? The other one is, this is what I'm stuck on. Remember the space down here we said before about Jan, whenever your client rings and your client's leaning on you. Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? 5 seconds later, is it ready yet? You know, 10 seconds later, is it finished? I haven't heard back from you. You have all those things happening, okay? What you want to be able to do as part of visibility with your customers, say, this is what I'm stuck on. If you're working with awesome clients up here, you know what? And I know from talking to Tom, you know, from this visit last time, you've probably had some customers that haven't been great. Does that ever happen? They're not great, are they? Now we talk about A's being awesomes. Anybody know what the 4 stand for? A clients, B, C and D. A's are the awesomes. The B's are the C's are the cannot deal with. And the D's are dead. Does that make sense? They're talking, but they're actually dead. Does that make sense? See all this in here, this doesn't work with C or D clients. So you've got to get that right first. Okay, you can be your best, you can be your best, you can be your genius. With the wrong customers, it'll never work. So we're talking about working with awesome customers, okay? So it's things like, and this is what I'm stuck on, okay? Things like, this is where I need your help. And as a team, we talk about a lot of those things together. These are the things that we can help each other with. Okay? Things like tools. I'm wondering, can we try using something like Trello? Like yesterday, we haven't used Teamwork PM before. We've tried a few different things like, anybody use Sweet Process? Sweet Process, okay. A little bit of Sweet Process, but during the year, how many events have we got this year? Some 60, we've got 60, 65 events on this year. These are all live events, training events, marketing events. It is with each event, there's a whole bunch of steps that have to happen. Okay? And before we had Febby and Chill working on this, back in Australia, it was a mess. Okay? So what we're doing now with Teamwork PM is actually putting those steps out like a project. So we have a project at the end, and we have the steps back, and Febby and Chill are going to look after that. Okay? So visibility for us is around, if we have Teamwork PM, I can look at it, Febby can look at it, Chill can look at it. Hang on, you're Febby and you're Chill. Febby and Chill. And we've got Wendy and Jared and Paula and other people on our team that can look at it as well. Does that make sense? So the one key in visibility is this, is because, you know, there's times during the day we're going to get it right and times we're not going to get it right. Is if I'm in this space with my client and I'm looking like this, in the early days with your customer it can be tough because your customer, if they've never had a VA before, they're not used to this process. They're not used to it. So you have to help them to get used to the process. And the second one is when I'm stuck on stuff, I have to talk about what I'm stuck on. When I don't understand stuff, I have to talk about this is what I don't understand. Because if we don't talk about those, all that'll ever happen is we'll never move out of this space. Does that make sense? So when you guys are awesome, look at the amazing things that have happened. I came in here, I think we were here maybe, when was the first time? February, was it about halfway through last year?
May last year.
May last year. And this area was all just being done. Okay? We were trying to fit as many people as we could into the phone booth. We're doing all those things. But this was all open, this wasn't air conditioned. Look how it's changed. And you've got a little space upstairs. And I would imagine if I'm back sometime next year, there's going to be a whole bunch of new happy smiling faces. Smiling faces. A much bigger team, more customers, more exciting things happen. But that will happen if we're up here. Because if we're down here, what will happen is customers, good customers will come and they'll go. Okay? And that didn't mean that you weren't the right person, and it didn't mean that they weren't the right person, and it didn't mean that you couldn't work well together. It just meant that you stayed in that space. Does that make sense? How are we doing? Has that been helpful? Okay. I mean, you guys, this is just a sensational place to have to be, you know, to tell you. Come here, the first time I came from Australia, I thought, oh, this place is a bit strange. I'm just not, and then I went upstairs, and there's, you know, 300 people in the room. Not that many, but lots of people. In Australia, that's weird. We don't get that. You know, in Australia, we have to have all this space. Okay? But to see all that, but I look at that to where you guys now and the awesome things you do. Who had it, by the way, who was there Saturday night? Saturday night? Who had an unbelievably good time on Saturday night? Okay. Okay. Who experienced my very weird dancing? Did anyone experience that? Okay. I can get it weirder if you like. Okay. That was only a very small portion of what I can do. Okay. But being here, being involved with you guys, everything you guys do is absolutely awesome. Okay. But ultimately, you get the choice to be here or here. That's your choice. Does that make sense? And you've got so many people in this room that can support you. You know, and Febby and I, we've worked through lots of stuff together. These guys can support you. I would imagine they already do. But you've got a bunch of people in the room like Lawrence's team and Jamie's team and a whole bunch of other awesome clients who the VAs in this room have got so much experience and they've worked through so much of this stuff, are in this space now that can help and support you, but it's your choice. Okay. I'll keep moving. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time. Have a fabulous day. Hang on, you're right. Cool.
Hello, sir. Thank you very much for that awesome communication workshop.
Welcome.
Yeah, it really helps. And here's my thought. To